Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing great today. So, today we're doing a BJC past paper review. Before you start this examination, please make sure you write your school number, write your candidate number. Also, please make sure you write your initials and your surname. Those are very important information for you to fill in before you start the examination. Today's paper is a health science paper. It is a paper one, which is a multiple choice paper, and this is from the year 2021. Before you start the examination, please also to ensure that you read through the instructions carefully and make sure you understand the instructions before you start. If you do not understand the instructions, please ask your examiner. All right, just a quick point out right here that you should circle your answers on this paper. And if you want to change your answers, you put an X through your circled answer and then you circle the correct one. All right, so please make sure you understand that before you start. Let's dive right into the first question. The first question reads, which structure forms the main components of the human body tissue? And notice the keyword in this question here is the tissues. And so therefore, cells will be our correct answer. Just to point out, remember that cells form tissues. That's very important for you to remember. Cells form tissues, and then tissues will form organs. All right, so we have organs there, and then, all right, that was backwards. All right, so we have organs, and then what form organs? Organs form into systems, or you may say organ systems. All right, so very important for you to know that, and then systems will come together to give you an entire organism. All right, so that's how you actually will actually outline how the body is organized, or the hierarchy of the body in terms of development. So you have cells first, then tissues, then organs. Then organs come together to form organ systems, and then you have the organism. All right, let's go to the next question. Question number 2. It said, which substance speed up the process of chemical reactions in the human body? And this here is enzymes. Enzymes speed up chemical reactions in the body. And what you need to know about enzymes, enzymes are reusable. Okay. They're also proteins. All right. Just to mention that. All right. Next, question number 3 is, which body system uses oxygen to release energy from nutrients in food? And this is the respiratory system. And a quick point to note here as well is that respiration is when glucose or sugar, so just to mention that, so glucose or sugar will react with oxygen, and what you get as a result is carbon dioxide. All right, so you get carbon dioxide as a result. All right, and please also need to know the chemical formula for this as well, or the chemical reaction. So carbon dioxide. All right, and you also get water, and you'll get also energy. All right, which is ATP. All right, so that's the road equation for the respiration, and this is aerobic respiration. You also should know the chemical balanced chemical equation for respiration as well. All right, question number 4. And the question number 4 said, how does the marrow in the bones aid the circulatory system? So what you need to know about bone marrow and the circulatory system that is relating to blood is that the bone marrow actually makes blood. Okay. All right. So let's go through and see which was the correct answer here. It said support the continuous circulation of blood, which is not true. Maintain the constant temperature of the blood is not true. It produces cells found in plasma, and the cells that found in plasma are blood cells. Okay, so remember that plasma is the liquid part of blood, and in the liquid part of blood, you will find blood cells. All right, and you should know your blood cells as well, such as your red blood cell, which is erythrocytes. You need to know your white blood cell, which are the leukocytes, and there are 2 types of white blood cells you should know, which are phagocytes and lymphocytes. And you should also know platelets as well. All right, so please make sure you know all of those blood cells. All right, for question number 5, is that which 2 bones in the human skeleton are connected to the femur? So first thing you need to know what is the femur, and the femur is the thigh bone. So let me just put that right there for you. femur is the thigh bone. And matter of fact, it is the longest bone in the body. Okay, so femur is a thigh bone, longest bone in the body. Please make sure you know that. And so the point out here, carpal and metacarpals, we will find those in your hands. Especially carpal is at your wrist, all right, and the metacarpals, those will be between the wrist and or between the carpal and the phalanges in your fingers. The tibia and the fibia, tibia and fibia definitely yes, because they connected to the thigh bone. All right, so they are on the lower part of your feet. All right, now the radius and ulna, those are found in your arm. All right, so those are connected to what they call a humerus. All right, and your tarsal and metatarsal, those are in your feet as well. And just to make a note that the tarsal is connected to your ankle, and then the metatarsals, those are between the tarsal and the phalanges in your, and the phalanges are actually your toe bones, right? So they are in pretty much your toes, all right? So the base of your foot going towards your toes. All right, just to point that out right there. All right, so number 6 is what happens in the body when peristalsis takes place, and you know what peristalsis is. Peristalsis is a wave-like movement of food through the alimentary canal, or you say movement, the wave-like movement of food through the digestive system. So peristalsis will take place when food moves through the alimentary canal, all right? The specific place that it normally takes place is in the esophagus. All right, it can also take place in your small and your large intestine. Those are the 3 major places that you will see peristalsis taking place. Esophagus is the most popular place or the most asked region. Also, your small intestine and your large intestine. So please make sure you know that as well. Question number 7. Which food nutrient contains nitrogen? And right off the bat here, it's going to be protein. I'm going to kind of outline something for you right here as well. That for carbohydrates, carbohydrates contain carbon, which is C, contains hydrogen, which is H, contains oxygen. So the 3 elements that are found in carbohydrates are CHO. For fats, is the same thing. Carbon, you'll have carbon in fats, hydrogen, and also oxygen. So those are the 3 elements found in fat. For proteins, now there are 4 elements that you should know that are present in proteins, and proteins will be C, H, O, and N. So we have 4 elements present in proteins, and carbon, C is for carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and N is for nitrogen. For water, let's put water at the bottom right here. Water is just H and O, which is H2O. Remember the formula for water? H2O. So yes, so proteins is our answer. C, H, O, and N. There are sometimes some other elements there, but just please remember these 4. If you do not remember anything else, make sure you know that there are 4 elements in proteins. All right, notice also for the macronutrients, which are carbohydrate, fats, and proteins, the 3 common elements, they are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So please know that as well, that the common elements in carbohydrate, fats, and proteins are CHO, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. All right, let's go to our next question. Question number 8. In question number 8, it said, which characteristic describes the action of a girl shivering in the cold? So if you're shivering in the cold, you're responding to the external temperature, and so therefore it is irritability, otherwise called sensitivity. All right, so we don't even need to explain that. All right, great. For number 9, it asks which blood group must a person have to be able to safely receive blood from all other blood groups. And we call this the universal recipient, and so therefore it is AB. All right. And so let me just make a note right here. We call the AB group the universal recipient because they can receive from anyone but cannot give. Okay, they cannot give, but they receive. All right, so universal. All right, so universal recipient. All right, so the universal recipient, And for blood group O, we call that group the universal donor. They can give to everybody, but they cannot receive. All right, so universal donor. All right, so you need to know that as well. All right, for number 10, you see a patient in the hospital was given a blood test. The test results show a very high amount of glucose in the blood. So which organ is most likely to be malfunctioning? So high glucose in the blood is still that the person is diabetic, and so what controls the amount of sugar in the blood is the pancreas. Remember what produced by the pancreas? The pancreas produces insulin, and insulin will reduce blood sugar. Okay, so if the blood sugar is too high, that means the pancreas is not functioning properly, or you're not producing enough insulin. All right, so pancreas is the answer for that question. Question number 11 is which statement best describes the action of antagonistic muscles? And when you say antagonistic muscles, what do we actually mean? These are muscles that work opposite to each other in that when one is contracting, the other one is relaxing, and it brings out about an action. So for option A, it said they move nutrients through the body, which is not making any sense at all. For B, it said they line and cover the system in the body, not true. They work in pairs to bring out a voluntary action, correct. All right, because again, as one is relaxing, the other one is contracting. And then a pretty much example of this is the movement of the arm by the bicep and tricep. So when the bicep is relaxing, the tricep is contracting. All right, so they work oppositely to bring about an action. So actually, they work in pairs. All right, for question number 12, is that what is the function of the septum in the heart? And the septum is separating the right side from the left side. In other words, it separates oxygenated blood from the deoxygenated blood. And so if you look through the answers, it generate heartbeats, which is not true, to produce antibiotic bodies. No, not true. But they separate the chambers of the heart into left and right. Correct. And so in other words, as I said earlier, is that it is separating the oxygenated blood from the deoxygenated blood. And you should also remember which side of the heart is oxygenated and which side is deoxygenated. The right side is deoxygenated and the left side is oxygenated. All right? All right, so let's go to our next question now. All right, for question number 13 here, what I'm going to do, let me just quickly label the diagram first, and at least so you have some, you can just go through this as a practice to know exactly what we're doing here. All right, so if we look at this, the heart, as a face the heart, this will be, and what I'm pointing to right now is your right hand. So this side going to be the left side of the heart over this side, right? So this side is going to be the left side. All right, so that's the left side of the heart. All right, let me come down a little bit more so we have some space to see. That's the left side. And so on this side, your left hand will be on this side. So this side is going to be your right side. Remember, when you look at the diagram, the opposite for your hands, all right? Once you're facing the diagram. Upper chambers, they are called the atria. So therefore, this one is the left atrium. All right, so this is the left atrium. All right, and the bottom chambers, they are called ventricles. So therefore, this will be a left ventricle. All right. You just need to remember that. You need to know to label the heart and all of that, right? We said the left side and right side. So this side will be here our right atrium. All right, and then we have at the bottom here our right ventricle. All right. You need to know how to label all the parts of the heart, as a matter of fact. So just practice and practice and practice. We have our valves, and so we have what they call the bicep and tricep valves. We have those. And coming from the heart, we need to know what's going in the heart, what's coming out of the heart. So I'm going to show you a little what is happening here quickly. So in this side, blood enters the atrium. So I'm going to put that arrow there. Blood will enter the atrium and then go into the ventricle and then leave from the ventricle and come back out. So it will travel through here. So I'm just showing the circulation of blood through the heart. Again, blood enters the atrium and then it goes down into the ventricle and then will leave through the vein that is pointing up. So again, if this side, which is the right side, is deoxygenated, that means this here is the vena cava coming from the body. And then the one that coming right here will be the pulmonary artery going towards the lungs. And then on this side, we have our pulmonary vein. This is the pulmonary vein coming from the lungs, which is oxygenated blood. Then the oxygenated blood will travel towards the body, and this blood vessel here is called the aorta. All right, so you need to know all of that. All right, so in here is the septum that separates the left from the right, oxygenated from deoxygenated blood. All right, so let's go to the question and answer now. So which chamber of the heart pump blood away from the heart? All right, so you need to know what chambers that pump blood away from the heart. Now, just a point to note that blood enter the atrium, as I mentioned right here. So blood is entering the atrium. All right, the blood entering the atrium. It means that the ventricles are what pushing blood out of the heart. So we're going to look here for our P and S. The ventricles push blood out of the heart. All right, so the chambers that are doing that is P and S, the ventricles, right and left. So yes, so B will be your answer right there. All right, so B is the correct answer for that question. Let's go to the next question. It said the diagram shows a tooth found in the jaw of a human. And look at this tooth, you realize that it is one that found closer to the back of your mouth. So this one, based on the top of it, looks like a premolar. A little bit larger, maybe we may see a molar. All right, so molar and premolar, they're pretty much shaped the same way. All right, but based on the design here, a little bit flat. So I'm saying this is a premolar. So here it asks us to identify the parts labeled W and X. So W is the crown. So W is the crown, which is the top part of the teeth is called the crown of the teeth. Okay, that's called the crown. And the bottom part is called the root. Okay, that's the root there. And you also should know, based on if you cut the teeth in half, you see the different parts like enamel and so on, the pulp. You need to know all of that as well, the internal parts of the teeth. All right, so I said W is the crown and X is the root. So our answer here, looking for W and X, is the crown. That B, option B, is correctly matched. Question number 15. It said which type of teeth is used the tearing of food? So the tear food, remember now, if you think about it, the tear food, that is your canine, and you actually tear meat, okay? So canine is the tearing of teeth. All right, like incisors for cutting. All right, bicuspid is a valve in the heart, so that could not be an answer at all. All right, the molar is used for grinding and crushing of food. All right, so canine is the correct answer. Incisor is for cutting. All right, so they are chisel shape. All right, canines are pointy, and then the molar is a tooth that was up in this question at question number 14. All right. So the molar have that type of shape. It is pretty much flat on the top, create a large surface area for crushing and grinding of food. All right, question number 16. For question number 16 says, which of the following is an external activity of the body? An external activity of the body, which means that happen on the outside. Chewing of food, that takes place inside of your body. It's producing estrogen that also takes place inside. Sweating, scratching the scalp. If you're scratching your scalp, you may have a little itch or you may have dandruff here. Then definitely that's an external action. Transport of hormones that's inside. But number 17 is what happens in the pharynx as food is being swallowed. So in the pharynx, we're talking about the throat. All right. So in the pharynx, it said epiglottis closes over the esophagus. And if you think about it, if you're swallowing food, the esophagus cannot be covered because food must pass through the esophagus. So that could not be an answer. For option B, is that the epiglottis closes over the windpipe, and which is true because you do not want food to get inside of the lungs. Matter of fact, if food start getting to your trachea, then of course you're gonna start to choke because the automatic response is to bring back the food out. All right, because if food gets inside of your lungs, it can be a very serious problem. Especially if your lungs become infected with bacteria from the food, then definitely going to be in some serious problem. That's actually leading to death if you not get quick attention. All right, so number 18, it said, in which organs are the alveoli located? And remember, alveoli, they are for gaseous exchange, and they are found within the lungs. All right, alveoli, they are air sac or small circular sacs that are found at the end of the bronchioles, and they are responsible for gaseous exchange, which means they take carbon dioxide out of the blood and put in the blood oxygen. All right, so just remember that. All right, so yeah. Next question here is that the diagram shows the structure that make up the human air. It said question 19 and 20 refers to the diagram, and we can actually quickly label. Let me quickly label this for you. So on the outside of the air, we have what we call the pinna. All right, so this is the pinna on the outside of the air, and then we have here this called the auditory canal. So the auditory canal. All right, let me. All right, let me put the. Okay, yeah. Auditory canal. I'll put it right here. Put a hole. Yep. Now let's put it at the bottom. Let's put the canal at the bottom of this. Yes. All right, it's going to be better there. All right, and R now is what they call a circular, semicircular canal. So this is a semi-circular canal. All right, and then S, which call a cochlea. So S is the cochlea. I may say the cochlea. All right, and then this tube-like thing coming down here, we have what they call a eustachian tube. All right, so that's the eustachian tube. All right, and we have three bones here that you call the ear ossicles. The ear ossicles, we have the three small bones in the ear ossicles, which are hammer, anvil, and stirrup. All right, and they also has what they call the malleus, incus, and stapes. So those are the three small bones within the ear. All right, in that order: hammer, all right, anvil, stirrup, malleus, incus, stapes. All right, but the question here asks, what is the name of the structure labeled S? And S is the cochlea. All right, S is the cochlea. All right, number 20, and we're halfway through this paper. It said, in which structure is wax most likely to accumulate? And I think you'll know this. Wax is that little sticky, brown, darkish substance in the air that use to trap dirt, all right, or any foreign objects. And so you see it inside of your pinna. All right, if it's all the way down here, you're going to clog your auditory canal and then you cannot hear properly. So it is normally accumulate on the external part in the pinna. All right, and sometimes you can see it from the outside, which is that time, you need to clean your ears at that time. All right, not looking so appealing at all. So 20 is going to be, let's go back. I think I missed, what letter was that? Okay, P. So that is letter P, which is A. All right. So you'll see it there in your pinna. All right. Next question here is said, the taste is one function of the tongue. What is another function of the tongue? All right, so if taste is another function of the tongue, what else it is doing? So tongue is help you to do what? Help you to talk, for sure. All right, but let's see what is there to see. And it also helps in digestion as well in terms of churning food in the mouth, mixing food with saliva and so on. All right, so option A is said to form chew food into a bolus, which is looking good because it actually turns the food, mix it up, and bolus means a ball-like portion of food, all right, or a ball-like formation of food. So if food mixes saliva and all of that, that will able to go down into the esophagus. And they said to moisten and digest food. No, that saliva is doing that. The produce enzyme, no, that is produced by the salivary gland. To secrete saliva is by the salivary gland. So definitely A is correct here. To form chewed food into a bolus. And bolus is that a ball-like food that mixing with saliva and all the enzymes. All right, so question number 22. It's a diagram A and diagram B show two different activities being carried out. So here, diagram A, the person is riding a bike, and then in diagram B, a tap was made at the knee, and they notice the leg jerk and move into this position. All right, so identify type of action shown in each diagram. So if a girl is riding her bike, she's deciding to ride the bike. So that is a voluntary action. And then in diagram B, that's how you test a person's reflex. So that is now what we call a reflex action. All right. So a reflex action is different from involuntary. So don't mix up involuntary and reflex. They are two different things. Reflex is an immediate response. Involuntary action now is an automatic response and is controlled by the brain. Reflex is not controlled by the brain, but only involves the what? Spinal cord. So you need to remember that as well. All right, so here now, we say that diagram B is a reflex, so A and B will be wrong because a yes, a diagram A showing a conditioned reflex, no, and diagram A showing a involuntary action, which is no. So the answer must be between, matter of fact, it's a diagram B shows a voluntary, which is not true. Matter of fact, D, yeah, because they say that diagram B shows a reflex and diagram A showing voluntary. So that is our correct answer right there. For question number 23 is where in the human body is the master gland located? And what is the master gland? That's the first question. What is the master gland? What is called the master gland? The master gland is called the pituitary gland. So I must write it down for you. The pituitary gland is called the master gland. And why it's called the master gland? Because it simply controls all the other glands. All right. So it secrete hormones to control all the other glands. And so we find this inside of the brain. So the pituitary gland is attached to the brain. And so the brain is found in the cranium. All right. The cranium is what we call the skull. So yeah, that will be a correct answer right there. All right. For question number 24, it says what happens if the skin is cut and bacteria gets into the wound? So if you get bacteria inside of the cut, then you're going to have an infection. All right, and so definitely as you look at this, you see that infection is the correct answer right there. All right, so bacteria get into your cut to get an infection. All right, what is hemorrhage? Hemorrhage is when you have excessive bleeding because of a rupture, right? So if you rupture a part of your body parts, then you can hemorrhage and then you have excessive bleeding and so on. All right, for question number 25, it said, in which human body structure is the ovum produced? And the other name for ovum is egg. So ovum is the same thing as an egg. Ova will be eggs. So ova is the plural form, which is eggs. Ovum is singular, so it's an egg. And where it is produced? It is produced in the ovary. So ovary would be a correct answer. Fallopian tube is where the egg will become fertilized if a sperm cell is available. And the uterus is where the egg will be implanted. All right. So if egg is fertilized, it implant in the uterus, and of course, again, it may implant there, developed into the fetus and embryo, and then embryo then fetus, and then it get into the child, and then that's where it will develop until it's ready to give birth. The vagina is the passageway for birth. So if a female becomes pregnant and the child develops, then that's the passageway for birth. All right. Question number 26. In question number 26, it said the diagram shows the human brain and spinal cord. Which letter points to the part which controls speech and memory? All right. So like what you're trying to study right now, which part is actually functioning, or the most active part right now for you to try to remember stuff, is the largest part of your brain, and that is called the cerebrum. All right. So this is the answer right here. Let's just quickly do a quick label right here. The largest part of your brain, that is for voluntary actions and thinking, dancing, whatever you decide to do, that is controlled by you, by your cerebrum. All right, so cerebrum control all your voluntary actions, your thinking, the dancing, the walking, and all that. Whatever you decide, even to calculate stuff, and also your intelligence is controlled by your cerebrum. All right, so you need to make your cerebrum active every day. Now, this part here, B, is called your cerebellum. All right, this is called the cerebellum. And the cerebellum is for balance. All right, so it's a balance and coordination. All right, so if you're not balancing properly, your cerebellum is not working too well. So a person who drink alcohol, for example, they affect their cerebellum most often because the cerebellum is what make them balance. And so if your cerebellum is affected by drinking of alcohol, then you become unstable and you have no balance. This part is called the medulla oblongata. So this piece is called the medulla oblongata. All right, and so your medulla oblongata is responsible for what they call the involuntary actions. All right, such as a heartbeat, digestion, your respiration. All right, that is controlled by medulla oblongata. Things that you cannot control that takes place automatically in your body. And then D now is what they call a spinal cord. So that is your spinal cord. And the spinal cord is responsible for your reflex actions. All right. 27. Question number 27 here. It said the diagram shows part of the digestive system. Again, let's do a quick label. And I know by now, everybody know that this is the liver, the largest internal organ of the body. And then we have here our stomach. All right. So stomach here. And then we have, this is our pancreas. All right. So we have our pancreas. And then here we have what we call a gallbladder. All right. And gallbladder is what stores bile, and liver produces bile. So which structure produce a secretion which emulsify fat? And the substance that emulsifies fat is called bile. Bile is that substance, all right, that emulsifies fat. And the liver again produces bile and is stored in the gallbladder. So our answer here will be R. So R is C, option C. Yeah. All right. So let's just jump down into some other question right here. The question number 28, it said, which structures found in the walls of the small intestine increase the surface area for absorption of nutrients? And in the small intestine, we have a lot of small finger-like projections that is needed for absorption. We call these villi. So in the lungs, we have alveoli, but in the small intestine, we have villi. All right, for question number 29, it said urine is a mixture of several substances. Which substance is not normally found in urine? Not normally. It can, but not normally. So urine is a mixture of water. So let me highlight this. A mixture of water, urea, and salt. So those three things are what make up, those three things make up urine. Glucose is not normally found in urine. All right. So if you see glucose in urine, it means that the person is diabetic. All right, so it can be found there, but if you see it there, it means that the person is diabetic. All right, so let's jump on to the next question right now. And question number 30. In question number 30, it said, which line points to the part of the human female reproductive system which dilates during birth? So when a person going to give birth, what they check for is the width of the cervix. So the cervix will dilate to give birth. P is the fallopian tube, and that's where fertilization of eggs takes place. I must write that down. The fallopian tube, that's where fertilization of eggs actually takes place. And then we have here now, which is the uterus, excuse the uterus. And uterus is where implantation of egg will occur, and also the fetus will stay there until pregnancy. So it actually accommodates pregnancy and development of the fetus. All right, and then R now is called the cervix, and the cervix, as we mentioned, it is what going to dilate to allow the child to come out. In fact, during pregnancy, the cervix also assists in holding the fetus inside of the uterus. The uterus is also called the womb. All right, and S will be the vagina. And the vagina is the passageway for birth, and is also serves to receive the sperm during sexual intercourse. All right, so our answer here is actually option C. All right, so option C is our answer, R, which is a cervix. All right, next question. Question number 31, and then we have 9 more questions to go. And it said, which one shows the correct path of urine as it passes out of the body? All right, so first, urine is made by the kidney. So, okay, all option here, they have kidneys first. So, yes, start the kidney first. From the kidney goes into the ureter. So, A and B are incorrect because urethra should be the last thing. That's what taking urine out of the body. And so ureter should be after kidney. So yes, it'll be C and D. And then after the ureter, it goes to the urinary bladder to store and then goes through the urethra. So D is our correct answer for that question. Question number 32. And the question number 32 is that a simple bacteria cell is capable of dividing once every 20 minutes in suitable conditions, starting with a single bacterial cell how many bacterial cell will be produced in 2 hours. All right, there's a easy way to do this. You can draw the diagram and you get it, but it's going to take you a really long time to do all of that. Or you can do a calculation. Again, I'm going to go the easiest and the simplest way for you. The first thing you need to know about bacteria first is that bacteria divide by what they call binary fission. So bacteria divides by binary fission. Let me write that down for you. Binary fission. And so what it means is that one cell produces 2 cells, and those 2 cells produce 2 more cells, and so on and so on. All right. So before I get into that, let me show you a quick outline of what I mean by binary fission. So let's say you have one single bacteria cell here. That one bacteria cell going to divide into 2 new cells. All right, so notice the word bi means 2, right? And those 2 cells now divide into 2 more cells, and then they continue like that until you have a whole lot of cells, right? But the thing is this with this question, I'm not going to draw this diagram. It's going to take a long time for me to finish and reach the last number. So you can draw the diagram, every cell divided into 2, and keep on dividing into 2 like that. But the idea now, I'm going to work out this in a different way, a quicker and a shorter way. Here it said that one of a cell divide once. So the cell divide once every 20 minutes. So that's the first thing we need to know. Divide every 20 minutes. Now we start out with a single cell. So one cell, and every 20 minutes it divides. Now it asks you how much cells are produced in 2 hours. Okay? So first we need to know how many minutes are in 2 hours. All right? And so if we think about for every 20, matter of fact, let's work with 20 minutes, right? So we know that there are 120 minutes, all right, in 2 hours, because 1 hour is 60 minutes. So there's 120 in 2 hours. And so if you divide this by 20 minutes, we want to check out how many division we're going to have. So if you divide the 120, which is the 2 hours, by the 20 minutes, you get 6 divisions. That means the cell will divide 6 times. Okay? The cell will divide 6 times. But what is important is not the matter of dividing 6 times alone, but you need to remember that each cell divides twice. So the numbers are increasing by twice the amount every time. So let's say we start here. The first division is this, that first cell divides, we get 2 new cells. Those 2 new cells divide again, we get 4. So notice we're multiplying by 2 as we go along. So easy way to do this, we have 6 divisions. I'm going to start out with number 1. And then number 1 will go into, and that's the first division now. So there's the first division, division 1. And what we get here is that we multiply 1 by 2, we're going to get 2. For the next division, we're going to multiply 2 by 2, we're going to get 4. Okay? And then the next division, which is the third division, remember we have 6 divisions, so we're going to have 3 more. So 4 multiplied by 2, we get 8. Okay? And then we're going to multiply this again. So this is now our 4th. So let's count the errors. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our 4th division. And so 8 multiplied by 2, we get 16. Okay? And then we have this now our 5th division right here. So 16 multiplied by 2, we get 32. So it's going to be our 32 right here. And then we're going to go to our last division, because how many divisions we have? 6. So 32 multiplied by 2, we get 64. Okay? So 64 will be our final number of bacterial cells. So again, you start off with the number of cells that you have, you multiply by 2, and so on. I'm going to give you a next example because I really want you to understand this. Let's say you started out with 4 cells, right? And each of them divide by 20 minutes. Just the same, and for 2 hours. So what you would have, you start out with 4 and you multiply by 2, then you get that 8, and then you multiply by 2 again, and multiply by 2, and keep on doing like that. So first you have to know your number of divisions, and the number of divisions is your total time divided by how many the cells divide in a particular time. So this one is 20 minutes, every cell divided 20 minutes, and the total time is 2 hours. So therefore we have 6 divisions in that 2 hours. And then each division, you multiply the previous cells by 2. All right? And so your final answer, you're going to be 64. All right, that's the easiest way to work out how bacterial cells multiply. I have a question number 33. I have a question number 33. This diagram shows a human sperm cell. Which letter points to the part where an X chromosome would be found? And X chromosome, all right, remember now, all right, let's point this out again because I just want to make sure you understand this. The chromosomes that are found in sperm cell, because this is a male, right? We have X and Y, okay? So the X and Y chromosome. Now, to label this, they must quickly label this for you. So the A is what they call the head of the sperm. And then here we have the nucleus of the sperm. And when that nucleus contains the genetic material, right? The nucleus contains the genetic material such as chromosomes, all right? And so definitely we know that the chromosome will be found in B. And so C is what they call the mid piece, all right? So C is the mid piece. And D is what they call the tail. And the tail is also known as what they call the flagellum, all right? It's also called the flagellum. All right. All right. So again, the genetic materials are found in the nucleus. So B will be our answer. All right. So the same thing with the egg cell. The chromosomes are found in the nucleus. And so in this nucleus, which is B, you will find actually X and Y chromosomes. All right. So just to point that out. So it doesn't matter if it's X or Y. They are all found in the nucleus of the cell. All right. So question number 34, and we're almost there. State that which body organs produce both spermatozoa and testosterone. Spermatozoa is just a fancy name for sperm cells. All right, so it's a sperm cell. It's a zoa, so it's a sperm cell. And then testosterone is just hormones for males. And so sperm cells and testosterones are produced in the testes. Okay, just to mention that. Adrenal gland produce adrenaline, and that is what they call for the flight and fright hormone. That's you produce that when you're excited, you're angry, when you're frightened, or when you're scared. The pancreas will produce insulin, as you know. All right. And the vas deferens is what they also call a sperm duct that transports sperm cells. Now, 35 is which term describes the sudden release of semen from the penis, and that one is ejaculation. There's no need to explain nothing with that one. All right. The release of sperm cells or semen from the penis is called ejaculation. 36 is a diagram shows a section of the human skin, which part produces melanin. And just to kind of point out these parts right here, this is called a sweat pore. So right here we have our sweat pore. All right, so that's our sweat pore. And this here is what they call our sweat gland. So here we have our sweat gland. All right, so this part right here, this gland right here is called the sebaceous gland or the oil gland. All right, so the one that attaches to the ear or the shaft of the hair right here, or the root of the hair, I should say, is called the sebaceous gland or the oil gland. On top here, we have our epidermis, right? And our epidermis is we're going to see the pigment of your skin, and that is actually answer. All right, and Q is what they call the dermis. All right, that is the innermost layer of the skin that contain most of the structures of the skin. So the epidermis is where we're going to produce melanin, and that's where you actually see the color of your skin, the complexion. So this is going to be P, which is A. All right, the 37. And for question number 37, it says which structure in the human body is most likely to be affected by the colon cancer? Then the name for colon is large intestine. So therefore, colon cancer affects the large intestine. All right? Right. The other name for colon, large intestine. Next question here, question number 38. They said the diagram shows the structure of a human eye. Yes, you need to know to label the human eye as well. It said which line points to the vitreous humor? And as according to labeling, let's label this real quick. And so C is the vitreous humor. All right. So a matter of fact, that's our answer right there. So vitreous humor. All right. So vitreous humor. Let us kind of just write that down real quick for you. All right. So vitreous humor. All right. And that's our vitreous humor. B is the lens. I need to know how the lens actually work to accommodate in terms of seeing objects from far and near. And A is the cornea. All right. And D is what they call a blind spot. All right. So D is the blind spot. All right. And this structure right here is called the optic nerve. Just to label that. That's optic nerve right there. All right, and aqueous humor will be right here where I'm pointing to right now. So I'm gonna put a little spot there. Right here is called the aqueous humor. All right, the outside is called the sclera. The middle section is called the choroid, and then we have retinal. All right, let me just quickly label that for you real quick. All right, just to give you some additional points, just to make sure that you are. All right, so I'm going to leave all these parts. So you notice this indentation right here. Let me just kind of highlight that. That is an indentation right here. There's a specific name for that. I'm also going to talk about that one. All right, I really need you to know these parts. All right, so we have a lens. All right, so let's talk about them. So here we say this is what they call our sclera or our sclerotic coat, okay? So that's our sclera or sclerotic coat. And then we have our choroid inside there. So that's our choroid. That's our choroid. And then in the inside part, which is the innermost layer of the eye, that is called the retina. All right. And then this part is called the fovea, or what you call the yellow spot. And the fovea is where most of your cones will be, because it gives you really, really great vision. Your retina contain light sensitive cells, which are rods and cones. Rods are for black and white, cones are for colored or bright light. And again, here is, say, this is our aqueous humor. All right. All right, aqueous humor. Let's put that part there. Aqueous humor. All right. Aqueous humor. All right. All right. And so you need to know the eye, the structures of the eye, and the functions of the eye. We also have what we call a suspensory ligament and ciliary muscles. You need to know that as well. So please make sure you know all the labelings of the eye. All right. So did I answer that? Let me make sure I answer the question. Yeah, okay. So the part that the vitreous humor actually is C. There's no need for me even to outline that because I have labeled it. So the aqueous humor, the vitreous humor is actually option C. All right, so let's go to the next question now, which is our second to last question. It's which stimulus allows the eye to see objects? And the stimulus here is light. All right, there's no even need to think about our saying thing or even discuss that. Light is what stimulates the eye for us to see things. For question number 40, last question here said, which disease of the human skin is caused by a fungus? AIDS is not affected by the skin, it's actually a virus. All right, and it's not a skin disease. It's an STD. Influenza, which is the common cold, is also a virus. All right, ringworm here is a fungus and it affects the skin. Syphilis is a STD as well. All right, so this is the end of this review. Again, I'll see you soon for other reviews. Keep safe, do well on your examination.